Alright, so I want to talk about Watch Dogs because I saw some headlines recently that said it's dead, and I've had opinions that I've been sitting on for years. I'm just gonna start talking, I don't know where we'll end up. So I guess we'll start with... Okay, after Far Cry 3, and to a lesser extent the first Watch Dogs, I realized Ubisoft does not know how to write modern humans. Honestly, it's like they saw a movie once, but have never actually spoken to another person. And every game that has come out since then, yeah, I rest my case. So Watch Dogs made some mistakes, but also, they did something kind of incredible. Not just in gameplay, I'll get to that, but in the story. Let me ask you, why is Ubisoft the only AAA company making games about modern freedom fighters against corrupt corporations? Like, first, why is this not a more common concept? And second, why is Ubisoft, of all companies, the one that did it? Moving on, let's talk about the story. Like I said, they don't know how to write modern humans. Their concept of hacking leaves a lot to be desired, but they had some good ideas in here that I think deserve to be highlighted. Like I mentioned, modern freedom fighters against evil corporations. They accurately predicted Palantir with Bellwether. The first game had us playing as a vigilante, which I love the idea of, but look, they committed a terrible sin when they had your sister get kidnapped. As soon as an open world game throws in a kidnapped loved one, I immediately don't want to do any side quest. Even some main missions don't feel related. Why are we doing anything except trying to get them back? Now overall, I think Aiden Pierce is an underrated character, and I liked taking down the mob, the trafficking operations, stuff like that. I do wish we had more vigilante games like that too. The second game is where things really took off. It was a much lighter atmosphere. Again, the writers just don't know how to write people. I have a lot of opinions on certain events in this game, but I kind of just don't want to talk about them. The Swelter Skelter scene especially, I don't want to get into it. Overall, Marcus was a much more likable character than Aiden, and the rest of DedSec was pretty great too. I expected to get annoyed by Wrench, and I was sincerely surprised how likable he was too. The sequence where we get revenge for Horatio was powerful. Hit this gang hard and fast to bring them down. I wish Horatio got more screen time before that, but it's fine. And then Legion. That was a departure from mostly kind of grounded to borderline cyberpunk. Though I honestly think they handled it better than certain other cyberpunk games. Bagley was... I liked him, but I think he was a little too much. I personally prefer the idea of AIs made from scratch rather than the copy of a brain. But okay, let's talk about the sequence early on where we face Sky Larson, the creator of this AI shite. First of all, her House of Horrors. The underground bunker was too much. But the idea that her mom was effectively a lobotomized AI and trying to help you, that was good. Dog and the robot spider body, oh lord, that messed me up. Because they make it clear it's just a program, but it thinks it's a dog. That program spent who knows how long trapped in that body in that small cage. Dude, I don't want to think about it. I don't want to think about it. But then we get to the climax of that story where she's trying to become an AI herself because she's afraid of death. But the thing is, we already established the AI is just a copy of her brain. It's not her consciousness being uploaded. So like, she's still gonna die. She's just gonna have a copy left over. Now the copy will believe it is her, but I don't get how this evades her fear of death if her consciousness doesn't carry over. Alright, just had to talk about that first. The main gimmick of Legion was that you can build your network by recruiting anyone in the city to join DedSec. It's a super cool concept, but you quickly realize how they do it. They procedurally generate a character by pulling from a certain list of traits like job, attitude, etc. Then they give you one of a handful of Radiant quests to recruit them. I mean, of course that's what they would do. And I actually grew attached to quite a few of my recruits, even though they weren't really written. They didn't use actual AI, as far as I know, just procedural generation. If they made it today, you know they would use AI, which would be ironic and totally on brand. Like I said, Ubisoft makes these anti-corporate games. But yeah, the system led to some fun quirks. Like, I had an actress who was an underground bare-knuckle boxer. These things don't seem compatible, but I actually liked her. She was Scottish. Now, unfortunately, I can't show you this because that save file is lost because, well, Ubisoft. I also had an MI6 spy who was married to a literal Russian hacker with a rainbow mohawk. They were some of my favorites. Now, there is a scene where we need to talk to a woman and scan her face for something. The game makes it clear we only need to talk to her for like 5 minutes. I send a male spy for this operation, but she's not interested. So I send my married female spy, and within 2 minutes, she invites us to bed. Then my spy goes through with it, even though we only needed a few minutes. And then gets mad that we made her do that. I got mad that we made her do that. Like I said, Ubisoft can't write modern humans. Alright, I want to start wrapping this up. I was really expecting once we reached Nigel Cass that we would open his jacket and see a Templar pin or whatever. Just as an Easter egg. Like, the games should be separate, but share a universe. And I was expecting the end of the game to be our leader lady signing off. The camera zooms out to reveal a ring on the desk with the assassin logo. She picks it up, and we cut to black. But no, they wanted to have a twist villain that made no sense. Oh god, this was aggressively stupid. Yeah, she's crazy, I get it. It would have just been nice if our villain had a coherent plan that would have worked if we didn't stop them. At the end, she tries to pull that, how many people have you killed since this started? None. I was extraordinarily careful not to take a single life except the ones the game forced me to. I restarted a couple of times because I accidentally killed an enemy. I played that intro way too many times. Also because it randomly generated a list and I wanted to start off with a good character who kind of became my main. But yeah, this freaking... I wish games would acknowledge how hard I try to not kill people. So yeah, that's Watch Dogs. I think that's most of what I wanted to say. So yeah, apparently Watch Dogs is dead. That's pretty sad. I hope another studio takes up the mantle of modern freedom fighters versus corrupt corporations. Also, vigilantes. I have ideas, but I don't have a studio. Maybe I'll make more of those videos for what could be. Also, replaying these games today is very cathartic. Highly recommend. Anyway, that's it for now, my friends. Thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget to comment and like. I'll see you later.